What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. We're talking today about the New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestling Dontaku event. One of the better events of the year for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and this year was a little bit different than it has been in the past, and we'll get into that as we go on with the review. Before we get into that, I want to remind you guys that I got a lot of goodies down in the description box below for you. If you want free stocks, free crypto, a lot of good stuff. If you want a ledger to hold your crypto on, probably a good time. Bitcoin's been going through the roof again. Check out the description box below, see if any of those links will help you out. And it does help the channel out a bit as well. So I thank you guys for that. But now let's talk about Wrestling Dontaku 2025 edition coming from Fukuoka again, as usual. And I have to say, night one and night two. Night one is typically the lower night, although the attendance this year, if you actually look at the attendance numbers, they were actually up from last year. So that is, again, a good sign for New Japan Pro Wrestling, despite the fact that reports have been around, and we're going to talk about that and when we get to night two, but that the pay in New Japan has been a little bit less. But the first night we had, of course, the preliminary matches. Not much to be told there. Master Wato, Oleg Bolton, Toriano, and Yo defeated TMDK and won. Then the real thing that people were here for, though, was the final two matches of Bushi and Tetsuya Naito of Los Ingobernables De Japon, both of whom are leaving New Japan after this event. Fans were, there's been a lot of tears. People love Naito. New Japan fans love Tetsuya Naito, and yeah, he's nearing the end of his career, and he's, his knees are messed up, his eye kind of coming to an end. Him and New Japan couldn't come to an agreement, so he will no longer be a contracted New Japan wrestler, and neither is Bushi. LIJ, of course, was going to win their multi-man tag matches this weekend. Naito did not have a big singles match as a go-away match. And we'll get to that on night two. There were other six-man tag, but let's focus on the big main matches of the night. First one is for the NJPW World Television Championship. I don't like, the one thing I will say about this match, I don't like it because it feels like it's a preview for a later match when it should be a TV title match focus. But El Phantasmo defended the championship, which he recently just won back from the Great Okan, against Konosuke Takeshita, who is also the never openweight champion. So the two of them they're trying to develop a rivalry between the two of them. I think this is a spot ELP should have been in a while ago, against a bigger name star on the card. Not that he hasn't faced big name stars, but his singles push a couple years ago, I was hoping that this is the kind of stuff they would do with him. And now we're getting to it years later, but this was a great kind of way for them to establish that Phantasmo is on the same level as Konosuke Takeshita. That's how they're selling this thing. 15-minute time limit draw, because the TV championship matches, and this is old school as old school can be, are 15-minute time limits. And it did go to the time limit. It did feel like they were pacing themselves somewhat in this match, though. They've got another match coming up for the Never title, which has a 60-minute time limit. I don't know if that's going to be a Broadway, but we'll see. It was a good match. Fun to watch. Again, it felt like a preview, though, of matches they're going to have later. Zack Sabre Jr. took on Hiroshi Tanahashi. Tanahashi also on his retirement tour. And the right thing happened here. Zack defeated Tanahashi. The match was typical Tanahashi ZSJ match, if you've seen them before. At the end, Zack is shaking hands with Tanahashi. They're in the mat, and they're having a very long conversation with each other. Private conversation between the two of them. Sure, Zack is telling Tanahashi what he's meant to him and all kinds of stuff, and what he's meant to the business, and he's giving Tanahashi his flowers. It was really cool to see. This is the kind of stuff I loved about New Japan's style of wrestling and this side of the pro wrestling world, is that you can get genuine things like that. It doesn't have to be some big contrived thing that it has to be a big promo and we have to do that. No, it's just like, we know what's going on, and it's cool the fact that it's not for us. It's a private thing that we can see is happening, but we can kind of, it doesn't have to be out there like that. I love that kind of stuff here in New Japan. Shingo Takagi, and this, okay, I gotta give backstory for this one. Shingo has been so pissed at Shota Umino. He has been trying to kill Shota Umino. I shouldn't say that, but he's been trying to hit Shota Umino in the head with a chair for the entire Dontaku tour. So him and Umino get into this special grudge match. And I remember Shota beat him in I believe it was the semifinals for the New Japan Cup. These two have a little bit of a rivalry going on. I particularly have said it before, I like the disgraced wrestler gimmick that Shota Umino is using. His matches are a lot better. This is a lot better look for him. I love the fact that Shingo playing a bit of a heel in this match. He came to the ring and he kind of sneaks a little chair from the ringside. He just grabs the chair from the audience, comes back through the barricade, just very calmly gets into the ring, lays the chair down. Referee's looking, hey, what are you doing with that? Shingo's like, calm down. Shingo casually gets into the ring, lifts up the chair, and then proceeds to hurl it at Shota's face. It was so funny. And Shota ducked it and they ran out the way. And Shingo's just beating the crap out of him. These two had a really, really good match. I think a lot of people are still... I think that what happens is that when you're used to crapping on somebody, there's a punching bag. People get used to punching the punching bag, but I think Shota's a lot better than people give him credit for. It's kind of, as a comparison, I think it's kind of like how, you know, in wrestling shows, how people start chanting something, but the chant is clearly over, but there's still the people that are still chanting. there's still the latecomers who stop chanting like 3 times later. That's I think what's going on with Shota Umino. I think his character is actually pretty good right now. Shingo needed to get the window, because I was not aware until the broadcasters mentioned it. Shota actually has the winning record against Shingo Takagi. And Shingo, we'll see later on, really needed this win. He does get the win over Shota Umino. I don't think it hurts Shota too much. But this is a fun match, I should say. It's not a fantastic match. It is a very fun match to watch. You get to see a different side of Shingo that we haven't seen a lot of in New Japan. And again, I think people are just beating up on Shota Umino because it was the thing to do for the last 2 years. But I think he's definitely different. He's a different wrestler than he was before. Then we get to the main event. I'm already going to tell you this is a match of the year contender. The Dog Pound match. The match that was started last year by the Bullet Club War Dogs, quickly becoming one of the most dangerous matches in all of wrestling, because as people have mentioned, the first Dog Pound match for the War Dogs, Alex Coughlin's career ended because of that match, and Hanare almost died in that match. This, even though the cage itself is not like some 20-foot high Hell in a Cell looking thing, this match is really dangerous. So the War Dogs take on the House of Torture, the Bullet Club Civil War. Whoever loses this match will be out of the Bullet Club. Whoever wins the match can officially claim Bullet Club and all that sweet merchandise money that they will get from it, if that's still the case with the Bullet Club merch. I thought this was better than last year's match. It was brutal. It was bloody. I think it was it was better paced than last year's match. Last year's match went a very long time. This match was only 26 minutes, whereas I think the one last year went over an hour, which was a little bit too long. This match was 26 minutes. There are so many crazy spots in this one. Goto even tries to do a table spot from the top of the cage, which actually didn't look that good, but he tried. He got the crowd behind him for a minute. Taiji Ishimori really stood out in this match. He had a lot of really cool spots. Did a moonsault off it, and this is not like, again, a normal cage. It's a shorter cage that encompasses the ring with no top on it. The House of Torture did, again, more of their crappy House of Torture stuff. You got Dick Togo at ringside. You got Yujiro Takahashi. They're supposed to be outside the cage. Of course, they wind up in the cage. Putting the numbers 7 against 5. Even with Goto helping the War Dogs, it was still 7 against 6. The problem is David Finlay, Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney, Taiji Ishimori, and Gabe Kidd are animals. and the House of Torture are cowards. And even when you have a coward who will do sneak attacks, though, the animals, they'll get hurt. There was a lot of blood. Everybody was bleeding. Gabe was bleeding a lot. Show, new for him, bleeding a lot. Ren Narita had this one shot. Had this one shot of Ren Narita. The crowd gasped. He was gushing so much blood. Looked pretty awesome though. I noticed everybody in this match, by the way, was bleeding except for Evil by the end of it. We'll talk about that later, but I thought this was great. This is not usual for New Japan. This is not a usual New Japan match, but now it is becoming a staple of the War Dogs. And of course, this is Wrestling Dontaku, which for those of you not familiar with New Japan history, is the event 12 years ago now that Bullet Club was first created when Prince Devitt, now known as Finn Balor, and Bad Luck Fale and Tama Tonga, and I think Carl Anderson at the time, all originally formed Bullet Club at this event. So, fitting that the finale, the blow off of this rivalry happened here. Now, we also have Sonata in this one. This whole angle has been going on for a long time. Sonata, we had the payoff with the guitar shot when he turned on the War Dogs, drilled Drilla over the head with the guitar shot. Drilla got his receipt on that one. Gabe got his receipt on Ren Narita in this match. Finley got his receipt on Evil for this match. Evil did break the shillelagh and then started jamming it into Finley's head. I will say, just to summarize this, because I think you should just watch. This is definitely a recommended match. I do consider, I'm going to put it on my match of the year list right now. It's going to be a contender for match of the year right now. Gabe Kidd winds up ending the match by pulling out and this is a Japanese table, you know how stiff those things are, wrapped in barbed wire, nicked himself like 3 times trying to set this thing up, so you knew the barbed wire was real. He winds up doing a super, super pile driver from the ropes on poor Ren through this barbed wire table. That finally ended this match, which had so much blood and so much violence, and so many nasty spots, people getting gouged in the head with forks. It's like this. And Clark Connors, I got another standout. Clark Connors, after the match he had with El Desperado a couple weeks ago, you knew he was war ready. So the match ends, but for some reason, Evil decided to handcuff David Finlay to the cage, put a dog collar around him, threw the chain on the dog collar over top of the cage, jumps out over top of the cage, and then tries to hang David Finlay. It didn't go on for too long. Evil kind of gave up on it and pouted and walked out of the ring. And again, like I said, you notice everybody in the match, including people who weren't even in the match, were bleeding except for Evil, who left his faction behind and walked away. The rest of the House of Torture slumps back to the dressing room in defeat, and we get standing tall the War Dogs, now the only official Bullet Club in the world, technically, I would say. Gabe Kidd doing a promo at the end, announcing that he's going after some championships too. David Finlay kind of letting, Gabe take the reins. I still wonder when that's coming about. I think we're going to wait on that a little bit, unless Gabe and Finlay are in the same block in the G1 this year. Then I think look for that to possibly be the start if they are going to do a change. Right now, I don't think they really need to do it. I think David Finlay and Gabe Kidd as being lieutenant and general of the War Dogs, I kind of like it right the way it is right now. I would like to see them just continue it on. I could give it another year. And like Gabe, just because Gabe is a bigger star and he's a breakout star right now, doesn't necessarily mean that he has to leave Bullet Club or he has to kick David Finlay out of it. And Finlay's also said that he's going to be the one leader of Bullet Club that doesn't let the club kill him. He'll kill the club first. So, and they've been repeating that line many, many times. So I think they have a plan on how they would do it. Just when that's going to happen, we'll have to see in the future. I think, and I wonder if the Finlay spot with Evil at the end is going to hint that they're probably going to have a dog collar match coming up at Dominion. But that was the end of night one. Again, really fun, really great show. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a little slow to start, but once you got into the middle of the card, it definitely picked up. The second night, you had like almost 2 or 3 times the amount of fans there, which usually happens with Dontaku. The second night's always the night where everybody shows up. And of course, this was the night of the last match for Bushi and Tetsuya Naito. We'll get to that now. Naito said it's going to be business as usual. He's not going to do anything special, and he didn't. Not too special. They had a match. Shingo got the win. They did the fist bump, and we didn't even get a roll call. Him and Bushi walked back to the ring, up the aisle, and the fans were hoping for something. They kept chanting and chanting and chanting, and no, they just went back like it was a normal match. And that was it. That's how they officially left, but not quite. Other stuff on the show, Goto and Taiji Ishimori, they had an opening tag match, which was fine. They're not hinting at too much there. Master Wato and Yoshihashi beat the United Empire, if that's even considered a real faction anymore. They beat Great Khan and Jacob Austin Young. Now this was cool. We had a Fukuoka Triple Crazy. We had Fukuoka Triple Crazy, let me say it correctly, defeating Starbomb and Yuna Mizumori. I love that this is on this show. If you haven't seen it, this is a Stardom Exhibition 6-woman tag team match. I recommend watching this. This was fun. This was really good. So early, you're starting off with the third match on the main card. Definitely recommend that one. El Phantasmo and Bolton Oleg defeated the Don Callis family's team of Konosuke Takeshita, and yes, Rocky Romero, I still keep forgetting he's heel now, and siding with Don Callis of all people and backing up Takeshita. I think the reason for that is Don Callis is not going to Japan all the time for these Takeshita matches. Takeshita is signed with New Japan as well as AEW. So I think when Takeshita's in Japan, Rocky's going to be a second. When Takeshita's in AEW, Callis will be there. The semi-main event came around. A rivalry that they're trying to push as the main rivalry in New Japan, but I don't think it is. I think that the main rivalries came up after this match. For the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship, Yota Tsuji defended against Yuya Uemura. The two of them have been blood rivals since they were young lions. They're continuing it on. This is a tradition in New Japan. We've seen it every generation. You have young lions who came up together and they wind up being linked for the rest of their careers as a rivalry. I think Uemura, I don't know if it was nerves or nothing. He's definitely coming back from that big injury. You can tell that he's still hesitant in some respects, but he's also trying to prove himself. Tsuji looks like he's kind of become comfortable right now with his star power and the fact that he is one of the first guys to really break out in the new generation. This match was good. It was a solid match. Not my favorite one. I liked the Wrestle Kingdom match the other year better than this one. Uemura, the arm was the story with him, and it became an issue for most of the match. He couldn't perform some of his moves. He missed some pin attempts and some submission attempts because of the arm and how Tsuji went to the arm, and the arm was bothering him the whole match. Yota Tsuji does get the win. The end of this match felt a little anticlimactic to me, but again, it's a solid match between the two of them. Uemura will be back, of course, against Tsuji in the future. We're probably going to see this match many, many times in the future. Not one of their best ones, but it was a good match. Now, here's where things got special. After the match, all of LIJ comes out. And I'm wondering, is this going to be the handoff of LIJ to Yota Tsuji? Not quite. It was just it technically was. They did one pose, but instead of Naito being in the spot that Naito usually is in as the leader of LIJ, Tsuji was in the spot. And I think people have already noticed the fact that Tsuji, his costume with the hat, looks a lot like the logo. It looks exactly like the logo for Los Ingobernables De Japon. But apparently, the faction is over? I'm not quite sure about that. They hinted that the faction no longer exists because Bushi and Naito are gone. Naito leaves the ring. Tsuji does call out to Naito, gives him one last call out. The crowd wants Naito, really, really, really wants him to say something. Naito doesn't. He leaves, and Bushi turns around. I think Bushi's done for good, to really be honest with you. He turns around and he flips the little tag on the back of his mask, and it just says adios. And then he walks back through the door, and that is the end of Bushi, Tetsuya Naito in New Japan Pro Wrestling for the foreseeable future, which makes me think that they're probably going to be back in some capacity in the future. They keep talking about maybe they're going to be in AEW. I don't think so. Or maybe they're going to come back as freelancers just for one-offs here and there. I think that's probably more a likely chance, and maybe they'll do some. Now they can do matches in other places. They can go to DDT, they can go to Pro Wrestling Noah, they can go to other places and do matches now that they're not on the contract. And Naito shouldn't be wrestling a full schedule anymore anyway, with his knees and with his eye and everything else. So I think that might be what's going on here. And so I don't think this is the end of the total. I hope it's not the total end of Tetsuya Naito. And I don't think he's retiring. I think he's just not under contract with New Japan full-time anymore. He's not a full-time wrestler anymore. Kind of like, let's put it this way. I think what Tetsuya Naito is doing right now is very similar to what Bryan Danielson is doing, who Danielson said he officially retired, but I do think Danielson will come back for one match here or there in the future. But I think that's where Naito is right now. Again, that generation, which a bunch of young guys, it's so crazy. All these guys, and I say it is Danielson, Tetsuya Naito, even Tanahashi, all these guys who I remember being young guys and don't feel like it was that long ago. Now all of a sudden you turn around and they're all old and they're retiring. It's crazy. Tsuji is left with Shingo and Hiromu, and that is all that's left of LIJ. And yeah, it's a big moment. It's a for me, it's really sad, and for a lot of fans, it's really sad. LIJ is a faction, and Naito, that whole story, and I've seen it now it's crazy. I've seen it from the start of LIJ until this apparent end of the faction. They had a charm to them that was, they didn't have to speak it. This is again the brilliance of wrestling, that you don't have to like over explain everything. LIJ was just like that, just because of the personalities and just because of the characters and the wrestlers they put in there. They even had a cool montage before the show of Naito sitting with even Sonata and Evil. You know, they took a picture of Evil and them giving each other the side eye as a celebration of Naito not being a full-time New Japan star anymore and potentially leaving the company. But is LIJ going to be anything anymore? Shingo later on kind of suggested that it isn't, and we'll talk about that after the main event, which was Hirooki Goto defending the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Callum Newman. Let's get into the backstory. This match originally was supposed to be Jeff Cobb challenging for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Hirooki Goto. As many of you know, Jeff Cobb, it was leaked that he was already signed with WWE while he was still in New Japan, and they put the damn tag titles on him. So what? And then Jeff Cobb was like, I'm leaving. So they took the tag titles off of them. He was team with Callum Newman. Officially, Callum Newman is the youngest IWGP Tag Team Champion in history, but he only held the title for 9 days because they stripped him of the belts because Jeff Cobb was going to WWE. I have feelings about that. You guys know, we've talked about it before. They need to stop doing it. They really need to stop doing that. It makes your championships look like they're worth nothing. And it makes your promotion look like less. And this has happened many, many, many times over the last couple of years. Stop doing it. My suggestion, not that New Japan needs to listen to me, but my suggestion would be, if you're going to put titles on foreign talent, have them sign a contract that says you will drop you have to show up at one match to drop the championship. If you can't sign that, if you can't agree to that, then don't put a championship on these guys. If you can't get these guys, you have to protect. The reason it's important is because it's your brand. And it makes your brand look worthless when people will just drop it. And on top of that, drop a World Heavyweight Championship main event match to go to another promotion. The wrestling companies, I said this about TNA with their championship. TNA, New Japan, all you guys, please stop doing this to your brands. You are killing your own brands. Just a suggestion. So, after all that debauchery, they just slotted Callum Newman in there. Basically, Callum Newman is a little chick who's in the nest, and the mama bird's like, all right, I'm kicking you out this nest. You better fly, because if you don't, either you're going to fly or you're going to die. That's pretty much what Callum Newman got thrusted into. They did a great thing where they put, and I remember when Ospreay said this, when Ospreay left, he was putting over Callum Newman on his way out the door, and in backstage interview, he's like, hey guys, look after him. He's going to make mistakes, but this guy's got talent. And they played that before the match, which I thought was a nice little touch to Ospreay, who on social media was definitely, obviously, rooting for his boy, because Callum Newman, you know, the kid's 22 years old. He runs, between him and Braun Breaker, I don't know which one of them runs the ropes faster. I do think Callum might be a hair faster than Braun Breaker. And that starts out the beginning of this match. Callum is just going like 90 miles an hour back and forth on the ropes, and Goto's like, whoa. Okay, let's go. Goto was great in this match too, man. Goto is really, he did what we all kind of thought he would. He settled into being that guy. He right now, with Naito gone, and Tanahashi on his way out, New Japan is in this really interesting storyline spot, which is, again, not anything they plan. It's just naturally what happened. It's an organic story. Hirooki Goto is now the last man standing. You could probably argue that there are other guys in there, and Ishii, but really it's Goto. Goto's really the last guy standing from the upper mid card of the 2010s era. He's the last guy standing, and he's now the gatekeeper with the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Whoever from this young roster beats him is probably going to take that moniker. Now, that may change. They may go with that. They may not go with that. But I like the optics right now of Goto being the last guy from that generation holding the world title, and these young guys trying to come and usurp him. And he really is fitting into that role right now. I thought this match was really good. It's not a match of the year contender, but Callum certainly improved his star power in this match and showed that he's got what it takes, because I wasn't sure about him. He's so young, and I didn't get from him, even as young as he is, that he was green a lot. I'm sure he personally critiques his stuff, and there's other people who are going to critique. So there were some spots in the match that were but I think overall, for being 22 years old, being thrusted out of nowhere into a main event match at one of New Japan's, it's not a show, but it is a B show. Dontaku is one of the bigger shows, or should I say more important shows of the year for New Japan. For the World Championship, just like that, I think he comported himself very, very well. I think there is definitely, I think we've seen, again, another launch pad for him into the future. Now, some other notes to be, as we wrap this up review, the semi-main event and the main event match didn't set up future matches. So back to the end of Tsuji and Uemura, after LIJ left, Gabe Kidd comes out. He gets in the face of Yota Tsuji, and Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji, that match they had that blew everybody away a couple months ago, that wound up being a draw, the rematch is happening at Dominion. We're getting Dominion this year back to being a big show again. So Yota Tsuji and Gabe Kidd, the rematch from that match of the year earlier this year for the Global Championship, is this feels a lot like Omega and Okada too. It has a lot of feeling of Omega and Okada going on with this one. And I wonder if they're going to do a Broadway. Dude, and here's the thing for Kidd and Tsuji. Both of them now are racking up some match of the years. Kidd has had the match with Omega, the match with Tsuji. I'm even going to count, and he was in the, there's another match, but I don't think a lot of people saw. I would say he did have another match I would consider possibly match of the year, but officially, as far as New Japan is concerned, the Kenny Omega match, the Tsuji match, and this Dog Pound match, I think are all match of the year contenders, and all have Gabe Kidd in them, and I'd be shocked if him and Tsuji don't have another match of the year at Dominion. So I'm mad excited for that one. And after the main event here, Zack Sabre Jr., who never got his rematch, is coming out, and he faced Goto. Is like, look, I want my rematch. It's time for you and me. You played with these young kids. Let's go. You and me, rematch for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Before that can get official, Shingo Takagi, who's, again, we're seeing a different side of Shingo. He comes out because he's felt disrespected. He comes out, he's like, well, I was going to challenge first, but, Goto, I see you here with your kids, and you're the leader of Hontai, and you got, the World Championship, and, then there's me. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I don't have a championship. I don't even have a faction anymore. So LIJ's done. But I want that championship. But I got here too late. So whoever wins between you and Zach should get the title. I think I would not mind them making that a triple threat match. I would not mind. I know usually I would be against triple threat matches, especially in the main event of Dominion, which is basically New Japan's version of SummerSlam. The way, at least I consider it that. But I think in this case, if they wound up making it a triple threat match with Shingo, Zack Sabre Jr., and Hirooki Goto for the IWGP Championship, I would not mind. I think you can do a lot with that, and I think that would be a cool idea. But if it's just ZSJ challenging Goto in the rematch that he never got, then I can accept that too. So Dominion's already shaping up to be a show that I'm definitely probably going to wind up staying up late and watch, as I did this one, and watching. And I suggest both nights of this show. from Dontaku this year. I think you should check out the Callum Newman main event with Hirooki Goto, just because Callum definitely shines and he's going to be a future star. Suji and Uemura, an okay match, not the greatest one, but it is something that you can enjoy. LIJ's final match, obviously for the departure of Tetsuya Naito, I definitely think you guys should check that out. Shingo Takagi and Shota Umino from night one, that was a good match. That was a good match. Again, if you're a Shota hater, I think you might be the crowd. Again, this is just my opinion. I think you might be the ones who are still clapping after everybody else has stopped clapping or stopped chanting the thing that we were chanting. I do think Shota's getting a raw end of the stick from a lot of the fans. And I think the match of the weekend was the dog pound match. That's a match of the year contender, absolutely. Brutal. Don't see it a lot in New Japan. A brutal, bloody, gory match. It ended a feud that they built up very well over the last couple of months. Got a lot of payoffs in this match. If you've been following the rivalry, it's a really good thing. And we officially have now one Bullet Club. One Bullet Club. It's just the War Dogs. That's it. So I want to know what you guys think. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here as we continue to cover New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW, and WWE, mainly, primarily. I am going to probably try to watch an MLW show and try to review that pretty soon. Because I watched one the other day and I was like, man, I should review this, but I need to be more, I don't watch it enough to be as familiar with the stars as I should be. So I'm probably going to try to do that. Because MLW's actually been, for me, in my opinion, low-key, they've been actually kind of knocking out the park lately for me. So I might start reviewing some MLW shows pretty soon. But until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and reviews on the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.